Part three. So, what is the purpose to this awareness? I see value in a conscious human documenting their reality. It takes a certain amount of strength to document one's reality. Think about all those people that talk a big talk about their accomplishments. What have they written? What have they videoed? What have they contributed to humanity? It's something that comes very easy to a lot of people to demonize the work of others if they're even trying to make an attempt to upgrade consciousness. Not very much in the department of them actually doing something themselves. Fake news. You're a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, people talk like that when they want to use it against someone. Take a closer look at, oh, you think the earth is what's that? Oh, you have this theory over here over regarding this, that, and the other, but that's not a conspiracy theory. But this over here is. It's like some really strange thinking. It's not a matter of giving up hope on humanity. It's stepping back from that which you cannot change and changing that which you can. It's like that serenity prayer. And it's a place where I want to be now. It's not about waking the whole world up. And I went through a stage like this before, but it's going now to another stage to where I am intent on connecting with the right souls on this planet and perhaps beyond. Now, like the Truman Show, is our reality being viewed by other forms of intelligence? That which some people would call aliens, that which some people would call demons, that which some people would call something else, more than likely. Knowing that us all primitive human beings have created our own technological panopticon dystopias. Take a look at the way chickens and other farmed animals live in these modern concentration camps, who's to say that we aren't being treated, surveilled, prodded, and bred? Bred. Bred. It is my understanding that there is a culling taking place of particular bloodlines and ethnicities in the Middle East. I am not suggesting that is the only target. I am suggesting that we are seeing an increase for some reason. And these dark forces are working through our own government to manifest a particular type of physical reality. And it is in conjunction with the chemtrails, which I believe are playing their part. As I said, it says in the title, are they chemtrailing, terraforming the planet to make way for the new humans? The new humans. I've also asked, and it's terrifying, could the AI-based system be used to flag and target people of specific ethnicities as well? So there's a lot of concern people have in the West of the Terminator reality. It seems that people have overlooked the Terminator reality that has already been unleashed on Afghanistan and the karmic consequences of that, not to mention the cowardly nature of it. The cowardly nature of using drones to go and do work that you used to need an army, an army that can say no. And see, that is, I want to play you part of this. We'll see how the actual connection goes. I just want you to hear, and this is from Terminator mixed in with the synth wave. And then you think about what's happening now in Afghanistan, not the future, not somewhere out there. Google, AI, one world government, right? Automation above it all. Yeah, they say they're using AI to fight white supremacy. I've seen the opposite from the Facebook algorithm. Okay. And that freaks me out. That freaks me out because the robot apocalypse is already upon us. And it's not going to be acting on its own. It's going to be following the directive of that which controls it, that which has programmed it. Okay, I don't think it's a white genocide that we're going to see in the next couple of decades. I'm freaked out for what they're planning within the country I was born. That is perturbator. Humans are such easy prey. A little bit concerned about copyright there, but a lot of imagery comes to mind with tracks like this. I think I got somebody working on some original tracks for me for perhaps something I'll use in a film in the future. But I don't see how some people aren't seeing how this can go really wrong, really quickly. And even knowing how the robot army can be hacked, everything that's being built up. And like actual computers within the Pentagon, I posted news about this, it's been made by China. And here we get these reports about Ford Focus to be manufactured in China to be exported to the United States by 2019. We're about to be importing a whole lot of Chinese cars as they globalize more and more and prepare for world war. We keep buying Chinese computers. The military is dependent on the rare earth minerals, which China has a monopoly on. And we have a massive military budget going to personnel way bigger than the other countries. The amount of welfare Americans are living on, sucking off the tit of the military industrial complex. They're anything but independent as they wave their made in China flag, as they literally fight in the streets and bleed in the streets over the burning of a made in China US flag, a country that has already lost its constitution and independence. Why aren't people rioting and angry? Not that I'm promoting rioting. All they could say is deep state. They're not angry at Donald Trump himself burning the US flag. As they scream, USA, 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 in the same type of demeanor as the crowds, the violent crowds, chanted for their fear not too long ago. It's not by accident that Donald Trump is playing this Antichrist role. It's all being used to take America to a dark place and make whores out of its daughters. And that's the most painful thing about it. And reading reports that due to Google search results that this one guy wrote a book about, there's a whole lot of women that are into violent porn. Is this the capstone of the pyramid of understanding that I've been seeking for so long? Why are there not more women of my culture protesting this obvious atrocity in the Middle East that's led to so many women being violated by other men? Is it that talking point that I heard from a woman so long ago? It's always been this way. This type of sense of already feeling defeated, a sense of alienation, maybe a new age spiritual belief system that their karma brought them that, and our karma and our country puts us over here in this chosen God protected field algorithm. It's it's troubling that so many people are suffering from these illusions of separation. They're seeing the benefits of the robotics and the technology, and also it's replacing our relationships. They're not seeing the other side. So I've long ago said I'm not afraid of the solar flare kill shot because I don't know what it's going to take us species back to a place of nature, and it won't be that by itself. I see plenty of people taking advantage of their intentional communities, the slave farmers, bringing in people with loving arms. Come to me, as they build up their own armies, as they build up their own cults. There's going to be a lot of that rising up. It's already taking place now. But when things collapse, it's going to be a lot of these people getting. It would take something greater. It would take something magnificent We were familiar with 100th monkey syndrome. We've seen evidence of it. I've seen evidence of non-local awareness, a true positive shift within consciousness that isn't apathetic to all these human beings that have been murdered. This is something that's necessary. Other things are necessary. And I don't yet see signs of a massive shift in consciousness on that note. In fact, on the opposite, I've seen a shift in consciousness, and I would describe it as reptilian. I would describe it as archonic. And talking like that, talking like a Gnostic in today's day and age, will get someone exiled socially from society. In the end, it is a blessing for any man or woman who is clear enough to be able to see the truth and to speak the truth, that those are not consequences worth paying attention to. In fact, that is my downfall and that is my shortcoming. As one would also say, listening to the haters or things of that nature. And I feel blessed that you're here and that you're absorbing this information, because this is not a technology and this is not a reality that I am taking for granted. I am grateful that I can transfer to you this idea, that I can speak to you and a bunch of random people that are open to what I'm saying tonight, as opposed to drowning my sorrows at a bar, getting into politics with absolute strangers that are probably more interested in an argument or mocking someone with an independent view, or those that are intolerant to those that are capable of forming complete thoughts and sentences, that are more interested in reality outside of a deliverance banjo. No, 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 no. Who's winning the game tonight, honey? Or whatever else. As literally people go marching on. Their little cults. We're proud to be American. Waving their Chinese flags, not even realizing that the ground under their feet has been compromised. All right, we're going to hear from another Ansari. Take ourselves back to the 11th century. From the non-manifest I came, pitched my tent in the forest of material existence. I passed through mineral and vegetable kingdoms. Then my mind carried me into the animal kingdom. Having reached there, I crossed beyond. Then in the crystal clear shell of the human heart, I nursed the drop of self into a pearl. And in association with good men, I wandered round that prayer house. Having experienced that cross beyond, I took the road that leads to God. And I became a slave at God's gate, and then duality all disappeared. And then I became absorbed in that one. And there's more in that book, and in the future I'll discuss more about what this distant relative slash ancestor, because I know very little of my own history or background through family or a natural organic oral tradition of passing on knowledge. I've learned things about myself online. So we have this ability to learn about ourselves and our world with this information. And yet, the internet, as I described it in an earlier video today, a flaming sword that is actually at the root of the global propaganda, turning a literally what seems to be an entire planet against the people of the Middle East, particular regions. We see many of these governments conspiring together to target certain areas for the resources, while they also play up proxy wars between them, US, Russia, US, China, while they have other agreements going on between them, globalization, but they continue to funnel energy from the people, the war machine, for a potential war. Why would they have a war if they're friends? Unless they were planning to send men and women against men and women to depopulate, to create pain and suffering for those forces of evil that literally feed like vampires off of suffering. There's a woman being raped. Let's send these people over there. Let's go feed off that energy. So, what is happening here with the entrapment of the American people, teaching them to hate people around the world? They seek to entrap those souls. The real forces of darkness that are operating beyond government, that are controlling immigration policy, that are controlling the wars, that are behind all these directives, behind all these groups that people are concerned about. At the root, they're contaminating consciousness because they don't want souls evolving out of this type of a samara, this type of a reincarnation time wheel. Who knows what got us thrust down into what I call this matrix, what others refer to as this matrix, reincarnation time wheel. Souls almost seem to be recycled, trapped into this web, just continuing the same challenges, battles, until they get it right, or until their soul grows so strong and powerful, becomes so pure through that process that they evolve to the world that they're actually from, or they evolve to the next level. And could there be other levels? Could there be other Earth-like planets where there? What kind of a mind would say this is the only place? Honestly, not that I trust everything that's coming out of. Obviously, they have their own agenda. They are announcing the discovery of new planets all the time. As far as their honesty regarding Mars, the moon, obviously there's massive dishonesty there. So can we believe them about other things? It perhaps depends on what it is. Basic general information about the sun and solar flares, that is available um, from the technology that exists today. But again, there is the deception. And how much does NASA really understand, and the government, who themselves have been affecting the geomagnetic field, our own government, through high atmospheric tests in the late 50s and early 60s? That affects the geomagnetic field, which affects human consciousness. Literally, the pineal gland and our hormones and other things. And we see cycles in nature, agriculture, cycles, earthquakes, storms, strange weather, human behavioral cycles, wars, civil unrest, protests. And again, I keep talking about this quiet before the storm because there's something about when we are at solar minimum on a spiritual level that I've speculated at. So I've brought you a lot of original commentary that I haven't necessarily had peer reviewed by David Icke and others and Alex Jones. It's just Alex answering, and Alex answering, telling you that. I have noticed a correlation with psychic attacks on humans and other deceptions with the government, false flags, in and around solar flares or geomagnetic storms, periods of solar maximum, more sunspot activity, thus more solar flares. The solar minimum period, which we are going into, is a period of less sunspots. With that will come a weakening magnetic field, making us more vulnerable to some radiation, some which could be potentially things that could upgrade our consciousness, and other things that could increase cancer rates for some people on the planet as we go closer to 2019, 2020. I've noticed and found within myself and observing society, there's something about the solar minimum, which we're going into, and a quiet before the storm, and almost an ability to listen to that inner knowing at times because of the stillness, like the stillness of a wave. Now think about an ocean, the tide coming in and out, and instead of it being a really intense in and out, maybe just a calm or a calm over a river. Maybe late at night, maybe cool, just the right temperature, not too much noise, not a bunch of people fighting at Waterfront Park in downtown Portland, but maybe looking at the beautiful Willamette River with the lights. Here's a little journey. When the lights go down in the city and the sun, I get teary eyed, a little nostalgia. You have a quiet before the storm, turn down the noise, quiet. This is real. Maybe you can feel this right now, but this is a quiet before the storm for a few years. There's turbulence, but not compared to what could be and not compared to what was at some point. See, there's a necessity for positive change, and I agree with some things that have been posted, for example, at the Rose City Antifa. Oh, hell good. I'm not for Antifa, their tactics, but some of the things they purport to be against regarding racism and certain things that person may post. things people might need to be protesting about. There's obviously a lot of things the people in the streets, though, supporting Antifa do not talk about. So I view the Trump protest thing and the Antifa thing, I've been saying this over and over, this is some weird controlled chaos. It's also just the way on a biological level. Let's talk about things spiritually. Let's talk about the controlled chaos. So you do have these different energies that are at odds. And it's not to say like one side's entirely good and one side is entirely bad. I've seen same behavior on the Trump support base with regards to talking, how they're talking to Antifa people that are like provoking on violence. There'll be some people over here wanting to talk, and that is a positive thing to see. And if someone's going to act like they can't talk or blah, 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 and they have no logic, that should be shown as well. People should be able to talk about the issues. What are the issues with the economy? What are the issues with the civilian deaths? What are the issues with the local economy? You're not seeing those types of issues being discussed. Okay. So you can look at what's going on from a spiritual perspective and go, yeah, there's obviously these energies that are entangled, but these people are really trying to work out some deep seated internal psyche stuff. It's not really about Donald Trump and all these external things. On a microcosmic level, there's a lot of white people that are having their ongoing civil war. And there are other white people and others. This isn't really about race, but if you do look at it from a racial perspective, which a lot of people prefer, absolutely. You have an ongoing white civil war. And if you follow certain channels on YouTube, they'll tell you all about and show you all about what's going on in Portland, Oregon. It is getting bloody. It is getting dangerous. It is getting comical. It is getting psychotic. It is getting sad. It is getting hysterical. It is getting apocalyptic. It is getting just above and beyond any word that I can use to describe it. It is just on. And I have never seen violence, this much violence, and threats of violence, and people wanting to see harm put on others ever in my life. The closest thing people might be able to compare to it is like the LA riots and or the civil rights movement. It's unfortunate the LA riots happened, and obviously that was a lot of mindlessness that was in response to some mindlessness, but it was more fire response to fire. And again, what's good, what's bad, you can also see on the Trump support base, really ridiculous behavior tolerated, and some factual points, actual points, relevant points that maybe members of Antifa or the protest group are making about behavior on the other side, but it's not all good or bad. It's actually elements of both. And just this human cosmic dance. And what is happening below is absolutely in response to what's happening above. So, following this quiet before the storm of a few years, we have solar maximum on the radar. We have talks of two stars coming together and colliding in 2022. That's going to cause some energetic effects. My friend from Australia, sorry, I haven't gone back to your message. I got the video he sent regarding his astrological projections for 2020 something. You heard about what I said about solar maximum, and I'm going to share some of that with you in the future. So we're heading up to this point. We can take part in the chaos and be manipulated by it, or we can choose to do something else with the energy. It's also difficult, even for myself, to meditate, but even I, and I will after this, take time, sit outside under the sun for just a few minutes, step back from the internet, step back from, I know a lot of you coexist with smartphones and other things. Most of you are urban, so you're actually dealing with other energies too. You're dealing with smart meters. You're dealing with cell phone towers. You're dealing with more other people and distractions. So I'll support, of course, through these types of videos in what ways I can verbally. The idea of being calm, clear, and collected on a busy street in New York City. Moving meditation. It's not about sitting down in the lotus position. Be able to observe your breath, be able to ground yourself wherever you are, even in a subway station, even in a Mac station. To throw up a shield in some cases to protect yourself, protect your psyche. You might feel someone staring at you, burning eyes into you. You may not want to return that energy, but you may want to throw up a shield. Maybe you don't know how to throw up a shield But once you find yourself under that kind of attack over and over and over again, you might find yourself wondering, how does one protect themselves or try to ensure that they are able to navigate through this matrix, especially when your awareness goes up. And that's the thing that less aware people don't have empathy for. The experiences those of us, what we go through when we go through periods and our sensitivity goes up. And I found that I got to be really responsible now as my sensitivity goes up to not overconnect with those people on YouTube as I watch what is going on in these major cities. But I can see the frequency, I can see the parallels between the group, and I see value, more value than ever in stepping back for myself and speaking only for myself and observing what's going on and speaking about our society from a safe distance and helping those that I'm able to help and letting that happen automatically, letting go of expectation of reaching a certain amount of people. But I want to reach people around the world, but I'm just going to have to let go and let these YouTube videos, which really I have to go through the beast as a middleman, literally, an algorithm, whether or not any of my videos get suggested. And perhaps things will evolve. That's why I'm going to focus more on writing in my future. That's why I say a lot of us will be focusing more on writing in the future because that is a more conscious response to artificial intelligence algorithms that have actually been designed to keep people away from their gnosis, to keep people away from their truth. And like in the past with the persecution of the Gnostics, we're seeing a lot of that today. So I grabbed random books to the library. I flipped to different sections. I looked for like the commonality between teachings, for example, of historical figures. And there's a number of books probably that I've yet to read. The idea of comparative religion is somewhat demonized by aspects of the conspiracy culture. Um, and I would just like to say that it's interesting because there are clearly witch hunts today for those that have truth of some kind. And it would actually make sense if things get really, really, really crazy for there to be people operating in the shadows for their own survival that are putting out information, gnosis, to help other people. If in fact there's that type of a witch hunt or attempted roundup of certain individuals, you would have aspects of our society living underground in a literal sense or traveling under the radar. And again, they built up this whole facial recognition software matrix, Department of Homeland Security, where there is seemingly no place to hide, where we've been moved in this cashless grid. So it seems that the energies that are coming through is like repeating these previous periods in time, including medieval. That's why it seems like there's an appearance of this medieval consciousness. But in the darkness of night, the lightness, when we shine the spotlight, shines so bright. As one particular person said in the alternative media, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. I add on to that, be bold and speak the truth, and mighty forces will come to your aid. There are mighty forces of wickedness that have come to the aid of many alternative media propagandists. I can feel the fullness of darkness within them, Luke. I can, and I'm not going to mention names. But what we are dealing with is straight out of Lord of the Rings. Some of the people that you may listen to on YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, are taken by them. They're being used by the Archons. The key is for you to get to a place where you don't need or view anyone in the YouTube world or anywhere, any radio show, to give you the answers. In fact, it's probably more important that you unplug from those that are deceiving you. You start tuning in to that inner light, start tuning in to that inner gnosis. I'm just going to read something randomly. God is all. God constitutes individual being and body. And now comes the next question. What is God? One of our greatest problems is to find a satisfactory answer to that question. There are perhaps several hundred synonyms for the word God, and if we could name them all, we would still not have found the answer to the question. Nevertheless, we continue to raise the age-old query, where is God? Perhaps that is because there is an inner recognition of which we may not even be aware, that when we have found God, we have found ourselves. When we have found ourselves, we have found God. And so these are the things worth contemplating. These are the things worth contemplating. What are the spiritual effects of a world that goes in a certain direction? How can there be a remedy other than violence and warfare? How can the solution be found in the spiritual realm to find our inner salvation from that which we are afraid of or running from? And it's an inner journey. Waking the whole world up is a farce. There are many people that speak of such that should start waking up themselves. Right? They should stop worshiping politicians themselves. They should stop running propaganda and PR for Trump, Obama, fill in the blank themselves. See, there's no point even telling someone and engaging in argument at this point, in my view. How much of it has changed in the last year? Quite a bit. Last year before, I was shocked that so many people were getting behind the Donald Trump deception and calling innocent people terrorists or people that are pledging their allegiance to ISIS, right? Despite the fact that we're not being attacked in droves, right, from immigrants from Syria. In fact, we're seeing a rise in hate crimes by the defensiveness. And so I've seen a layer of reptilian slash archonic consciousness. The goal is for you, I, those of us that we care about, those of us that we genuinely are close to see ourselves survive that mind control. I keep my social circles very small to a level that I can manage because I can't control those around me. And because the nature of my work, this is my work, this is what I do, this is my job. Please, this 4th of July, and as soon as you watch this video, which is the day before the 4th of July, support my work at outsidethebox.vhx.tv. This is my work, this is what I do. And I'm also um, putting out a positive example because I believe others will follow. There's sacrifices that if you want to be free, completely free from others, you got to sacrifice the desire for the general public. One has to sacrifice within themselves that burning desire for the general public or greater world to accept them or to really like them or to hold them up and let alone worship them. So as someone who's a public person, there's a fine line between being a teacher online and propping up celebrity and cult of personality. And that is a level of deception that I see others in that, again, purport to be there to help people wake up who themselves have been co-opted by the God of this world. And when I say God, little God, I don't mean the creator. I mean the demiurge, I mean the deceiver, I mean the fallen one. And that is the goal, to overcome that influence. Because it is in our soul's destiny to free ourselves of this world. It's not our destiny to save the world. Wisdom is knowing the difference. With that, this now completes the 3-part series for July 3rd, 2017.